Okay, so I have my answer set up for the directory program.
This video is brought to you by ObbyPies Academy.
Now please realize your answer may differ slightly from mine, but the basic structure should be the same. First off, I imported CSV. I told you to do that in the directions. Now here's the most important thing I did to make this easy. I defined 3 functions, and I actually did this first before I wrote any other code. I defined a menu function, an add to dictionary function, and a display directory function. In fact, there's only one line outside of a function in this entire program, and it's this line of code right here. When the program runs, don't forget it memorizes the functions, and then it only runs them when you call them. So it memorizes the 3 functions, and then it calls the menu function, which is the function at the top, which first of all displays the menu. So we have option A, add to the directory, option B, display the directory, and option X to exit the directory program. I then ask for a selection. I use raw input, and I just prompt the user with a couple of dashes. There's a number of ways you could prompt the user, but it's a menu and I think the user knows what to do, so I prompted them with just a couple of dashes. And I saved whatever they typed in selection. Now first off, if selection was A, I called the add to dictionary function. Else if selection was B, I called the display directory function down here. Else if selection was X, which was exit the directory program, then I called the quit command, which just quits out of the function. It exits the Python interpreter. Now if it wasn't one of these 3, A, B, or X, which was stored by the raw input command, then we printed invalid selection and we called menu again. So we went back to the top and ran menu again. When a function calls itself, by the way, in computer science, this is known as recursion. So menu is a recursive function in that it calls itself if you don't make a valid selection. And essentially, if the user keeps making invalid selections, they're going to stay inside the menu function until they do make a valid selection of A, B, or X. So this way, they have to do something valid and then the program can deal with it. Now the next function is the add to dictionary function. You can see it running right here where I'm pointing on the left. Add to dictionary, it requires a first name, last name, email, and phone number. And then it says that whoever the name you entered is added to the dictionary. So first we print out add to dictionary to tell the user what they're doing. And then using a series of variables and raw inputs, we obtain the first name, the last name, the email address, and the phone number. We store those, and then, here's the relevant part, we open our file pointer. We point to directory.csv, and this is really important in append mode with an A. If we didn't do that, every time the program ran and the user added to the dictionary, it would delete the entire dictionary. It would be kind of pointless. So we used A for append to dictionary. And then I created an outstring. The outstring was assigned the first name plus a comma, the last name plus a comma, the email plus a comma, and then the phone plus a new line. Because if you remember when we looked at the actual CSV file in a text editor, that's what it looked like. Commas between each piece of information, and then a new line character, which you can't see, at the end of each line. So here we're creating the string for that CSV, and then we're writing to the directory file pointer. Remember our file pointer is called directory, to directory.csv. So we're writing to that file pointer the outstring we just created, which has the commas and the new line character. We then close our directory or our file pointer, and then we print out that that person, using the first name and last name, has been added to the dictionary. Now notice the next thing we do is we go back and run the menu function. And you can see here, right after we enter Bob Smith and the phone number, it says Bob Smith added to the dictionary, or to the directory rather. And then the directory is played again, or the menu is displayed again. So there's the menu. So we keep calling menu to go back to it, display the menu, and keep the user inside the program unless they select X to exit gracefully. Finally, display the directory, and you can see that down here in the bottom part of the output. So first off, again, we print display directory, and then we open our file pointer. This time, we use the file mode R for reading. So now we're going to try, and here I set a row text variable to blank. And then with the reader, I use csv.reader. And I give that directory. So directory is our file pointer. We then have a CSV reader here, which uses the file pointer. Then I'm going to loop through for each row in the reader. And then for each item in the row, I'm going to create this row text variable and add to it the item and a space. So we're going to keep adding to the row text variable, adding a space and the next item. So as we go through, it adds here, for example, Mark, then Lassoff, then the email address, and then the phone number. Notice the spaces between each one. We then print the row text, so we print the individual row. So that would print out this whole row. It would set row text to blank again, and then it would go on to the next row and loop through each individual item. Brian Fisher, Brian Fisher's email address, and then the phone number, and then on to the next row. Finally, we close the directory, and then we call the menu function again, which puts us back up to the top of the program, displaying the menu and seeing what the user wants to do next. And then I mentioned at the very end of the program, we have this call to menu, which is what gets the whole thing started when the program opens. Well, I hope you did well with this lab exercise. This one required a little more time and effort, I'm sure, but I hope you felt good about the result that you get. Once you can do I/O, you can do all sorts of interesting things with your programming. I'm glad we've crossed that bridge together. See you in the next chapter.